I don't like this. I'm not going to say anything, while at the same time ruining everything. Burnley are giving me hope, and I hate it. The Premier League relegation fight is, for me, the best part about the Premier League, and the title fight, who cares about that? No one cares, okay? The relegation fight is where it's really at, because anything can really happen. Like putting the ball in the back of your net. Twice, making statements online, playing victim, claiming that the entire world's up against you, and most importantly, Tommy Robinson in your home end. Last but not least, before I do forget, Sean Dyche is now wearing trackies. What the f is going on? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video. We need to have a talk here because I am now freaking myself out. Burnley at one stage had no chance of staying up. Now, we may have some chance of staying up, and by the time it's next week, we may have no chance of staying up. So it's just a normal relegation fight, really, isn't it? Comment down below who do you think's going down. Like, subscribe, and Mazzola Designs, my own design company, for the best football prints, link down below in the description. I'm going to leave Burnley till last here, so let's go through the team which is most important to go through here, right? Sheffield United. After losing 5-1 away at Newcastle, after having a decent start, and like every other game, capitulating embarrassingly, they are finally relegated to the Championship, which I'm sure they'd be very happy about because at least there's no VAR. I asked a friend of mine who's a Sheffield United fan one word to describe this season, and he said to me, donkey. I don't really know what that really means, but I don't think it's a good thing. With 3 games left, Sheffield United has conceded 97 goals in this Premier League season, with a goal difference that's too bad that I don't even think it's even worthwhile going through. With only 3 wins all campaign and being done at home more times than my mum, according to Xbox Live 102 Potty Chat, circa 2010. If you were curious, who's conceded the most goals in Premier League history? Well, the correct answer is actually Swindon Town back in 1994. Only one issue. It doesn't really count because in that season, there was actually 42 games in a season. So if we only count 38 game seasons, the worst team is actually, you guessed it, Derby County back in 07 or 08. But they conceded 89 goals in that campaign. Sheffield United have already got 97. It's not been a good season. As it currently stands, Sheffield United are joint with Huddersfield for the 3rd joint lowest ever points tally. Now, they do have 3 games left, and now they are already relegated, I would not be surprised if now suddenly they are now officially down, that they now play with a bit more freedom on the weights of their shoulders, and hopefully, I really hope you guys do, beat Nottingham Forest. Is Sheffield United the worst team in Premier League history? No. However, they can definitely be put in as one of the worst, no matter what happens from here. Everton. Sean Dyche's Everton. It still hurts me. Sean Dyche, in the most predictable way, keeps his team staying up, which is an issue, considering this is all we're going to hear from Burnley fans about the conversation of what if we kept Sean Dyche back in 21-22. It's over, lads, let's get on with it. Beating Burnley, cheers. Beating Forest, cheers. And also beating Liverpool and Brentford. Beating Liverpool for the first time, I believe, since 2010 at Goodison Park is a massive deal. And to get it done and not only beat Liverpool, not only get the derby win, but also dint their relegation fight is a great day all around. Sean Dyche, of course, for the entire season has got a lot of stick by Everton fans, especially in the last couple of weeks, because I believe they only had 1 win in 15 games. That is not good by any metric. However, it is important to keep in mind where they actually would be in the table if we look at it right now, if they didn't have points reductions. If you take away the 8 points reductions, they would be 12th, and they'd be joint right now with Brighton. Now, that's not to ignore the serious situation they were in after losing the Bournemouth away, and they had Burnley at home. Nothing to discredit that. However, I would say you're welcome for Muric blasting it into his own net. I know it's technically Calvert-Lewin, but it might as well be his own goal. The conversation with Sean Dyche will absolutely be, should he stay for the next season? Will there be any actual progress with Sean Dyche at Everton? Or is he only good for the time being just to simply keep it stable? Now, for me, I agree on both sides, because I don't really think Sean Dyche is the manager to really take Everton to that next level that they need to be at. I personally don't think he's the man that will take them to challenging in top 10 and go into European spots and hopefully do something similar to what Brighton have done in recent years, or Villa, or so on and so forth. I don't think that's going to happen. So I get why, for the future perspective of Evertonians, Sean Dyche may not be the right man. However, in terms of the squad that they've currently got, I do believe they have many weaknesses, and I think Sean Dyche simply is just getting the absolute best he can out of the team and using their strengths. Physicality, set pieces, aerial threat, all that good stuff. And that is absolutely true. So Everton are staying up, and will Sean Dyche be the right man to take them for next year? You tell me down below. Nottingham Forest. So yeah, Forest have had a couple of quiet days. It's really hard to describe Forest because on paper they've got some players that can actually really make a difference, and it's kind of confusing to really see what is the actual issue here. For many Forest fans, you can put it down as simply a lack of experience. For me personally, even though I want them to fall apart, I don't actually think they're that bad of a team. And I think right now they're in a bit of a false predicament here. Even though it has been a bit poor in recent weeks, I do believe they're in a bit of a false predicament here. And even though I actually think they've got a decent team, I look at the other teams and I think they actually are really good as well. And it really does remind me how good this league actually is. At any one point, there's teams that has players that can simply change the game all by themselves, or teams that are really well coached and put together. Fulham being a great example. They've got a really good cohesive unit over there. Or there's teams like Brentford that has the likes of Ivan Toney that can make a massive difference in Bremo. Crystal Palace has Eze, Elise, some great talent. So it really makes you think like the talent that the Premier League actually has, which is really frustrating. And Forest has a player which I think can really play for really any team, other than like the top elite clubs, Arsenal, City, maybe even Liverpool, but I think he's not even far off in Morgan Gibbs-White. He's a fantastic player, and if they stay up, it'd be absolutely because of him. 1 win in the last 10, but 2 losses in the last 6. It's simply getting points on the line and kind of crawling all over it right now. And now they're facing City. They should ideally lose. This is being recorded before that game. They should lose. It would be a bit awkward if they don't, so you know, hold me out there. But then it's the next couple of games that are absolutely huge, and really for the next weekend this can change the entire thing, and it can be done by then. Next weekend is absolutely vital for the relegation fight for every team involved. I'm gonna get into that very quickly, but Forest, of course, well known for their statement out against the PGMO over the 3 calls against Everton. I've already done a video on it. For me, 2 of them are not even penalties, and 1 is a Stonewall, so for me I don't really get the other 2. If you do want to know a bit more about Forest, and more specifically their chairman, I would advise you to go and research a bit about the chairman, and it would kind of make a lot more sense in terms of why they're reacting the way that they are. He's not really a nice man. Let's just leave it at that. But either way, if I was a better man, even though I do have hope right now, I still think that Forest will have enough to be over the line by the time it comes down to that final day. Luton is a really weird one, because not too long ago they went on a run of form which looked like they were about to stay up, and then I don't know what it is, if it's just a simple lack of quality or a lack of composure when it really matters, but things just slip away, and it all seemed to have fallen apart away at Bournemouth. Bournemouth 4, Luton 3, and the worst part was that Bournemouth was 3-0 down at half-time. In December and January, went on an incredible run of games. They beat Sheffield United away, they beat Newcastle at home, they even drew 4-4 away at Newcastle, they beat Brighton 4-0. I mean, at that stage, it looked like they could seriously stay up. Luton have got it. The power of friendship will be enough. And then the next game, they had Sheffield United at home. You just got to beat Sheffield United at home, boys. You're in a run of form. At that stage, they were unbeaten in 4 games, if you count the FA Cup games. And then they lost at home to Sheffield United. Sheffield United, boys. And as I saw by many Luton fans that I'm friends with, they said that's the most Luton thing to ever Luton that they've ever seen. And the games after did not help. They had Liverpool, they had United, City, Villa, and I think that really harmed their form and confidence going into some next pivotal games, and that led into that Bournemouth game, which by that capitulation, it felt like that could be a serious turning point. However, they did get one back on Bournemouth. They did actually beat Bournemouth in the home game with a last-minute winner by Morris, and then they had City next. Why do they always pick the worst times to put the big games? Luton have had consistent issues of injuries across the entire season. That their injury list is a foul, to say the least. Their injury list when they played Bournemouth at home and they actually won the game, I mean, they're missing countless key players that would typically be starters. And when you're a team like Luton, you kind of need to have a lot of players available, and they simply don't have that. Adebayo, Ogbene, Osho, Lokonga, Nakamba, Lockyer, so many key players that would typically always be starters just aren't available, and that's a massive issue for a team like Luton. I think at one time not having any actual centre-backs available at one stage, and that's really damning. Really bad loss recently to Brentford, and then losing away at Wolves in a 2-1 now a defeat. They haven't got the form at the key time. In the last 6 games, they've lost 5 and won 1. At this stage, even crucial points, getting a draw can mean something in terms of momentum, and right now they've just not got that. However, the next games is very vital, and for me, I'm terrified. Let's go into Burnley. Now, 2-3 weeks ago, I did a video titled It's All Lawful for Burnley, and back then, I meant it. That was when we lost to Everton away, I believe, and I believe Forest by then was already like 6-7 points clear, and don't forget one thing that's also very key. They've got a point deduction too, so realistically, Burnley should not even be in a fight right now if it wasn't for that point deduction, and the worst part is, because it's still pending, we don't actually fully know how many points are Forest really going to have by the end of the year. They right now currently have -4, could be -2. I don't think they can get points added on, so it may just stay the way it is, or -2. 2 points means a lot right now. It took its time, but Burnley have definitely improved and picked up form as the season's gone on, and they have improved as a team and learned off their mistakes. Only issue is, it's happening near the end of the year when, realistically, it would have been great if it happened a couple months prior. But it's a young team with a young manager, and that's just kind of what happens sometimes. And you can kind of stomach it in that way. I'm going to say something that may surprise you. Burnley have only lost 1 of their last 8 games. Only 1 loss in the last 8 games. That sounds fantastic, right? Sounds amazing, which it is good. However, only 2 wins in those 8 games too. And many games that dropped points was games that, realistically, Burnley as a fan should have went on and won. But look, we've got a win away at Sheffield United. That made us feel a bit happier, and now we've got a point away at Old Trafford that, realistically, I think we should have won at Old Trafford with the chances that we had. Now, you may say, what's changed for Burnley? What's made all this come together? I mean, there's a few things here. I think Muric starting is a massive key part of it. Cullen starting too, that is our captain right now, but wasn't playing for half the season, not by injury, but by choice of tactics by Vincent Kompany, which I think they've learned that was the wrong decision, and a bit of tactical tweaks in terms of just simply who plays with each other, better cohesion and chemistry, the best link-up play. Burnley just started the year was simply way too open and way too easy to just completely avoid the midfield. And we've kind of learned from our mistakes at times, but we're not perfect by any means, and we're still not the finished article. So that's why I do believe that even though I'm happy that we've put ourselves in a position to stay up, I still don't think it may be enough in the end. But I'm happy that we are at least fighting and giving ourselves some hope to begin with. Now, let's go into the final run-in here. And this is what it looks like. Burnley, we've got Newcastle at home, Spurs away, and then at home, Nottingham Forest. I mean, that could be a final day of all final days there. Luton, they've got Everton at home, West Ham away, and then Fulham at home. 2, on paper, winnable home games. And then Nottingham Forest, they got Sheffield United away. I'm not a big fan of that. Chelsea at home, and then, of course, Burnley away. Between these 3 teams, these are all the 3 teams that's in it, and as it currently stands, there's only 2 points separating the 3. And as it stands, next week for me could be the most pivotal weekend, because all 3 teams realistically have a semi-winnable game. Burnley has the toughest one, you would say, obviously. Newcastle at home, and our form against Newcastle is awful, and our form at home is awful. So it's going to be a really tough one there. As a Burnley fan, I think we have to beat Newcastle, otherwise there's no real chance we can really stay up in the end, because we have to be at least within 2 points of Forest to stay up, and that is a big ask. And the big ask is because they're playing Sheffield United, who of course is by far the worst team in the league. Sheffield United and Forest has a bit of a mini rivalry, and now that they're officially down, Sheffield United, I kind of feel like they have more of a chance to be a bit more relaxed, to play with less weight on their shoulders. Maybe this is me being a bit delusional here. However, when teams already go down and it's officially finalized, they seem to always play better at the end. And then Luton has Everton at home, and for me this is a really bad one, because Sean Dyche, with my experience at Burnley, once we officially stayed up, the end of the year was always really poor, and the players didn't really fight and have the same energy levels as they were previously. And I just got a bad feeling that the Everton players may not play as well as they would have if they were still fighting for something, because typically Sean Dyche teams always kind of end the year in that manner once we are already up. And Luton will be fighting for their lives physically as well. So I just got a real concern about that game. If you're looking at it on paper, Luton should have the better fixtures. However, their form is not coinciding with that at the same time. West Ham away is a pretty tough game to go. And then final day is Fulham, who Fulham is just a weird team to call. If you were to ask me as a biased Burnley fan, I can't be deluded here and say that I think we will stay up in terms of me by my head and not my heart. The points between Burnley and Forest may be too much to ask considering the fixtures that we have. In my perspective, it all relies on if we beat Newcastle. If we don't beat Newcastle, I don't think we can get within 3 points because a better goal difference, I don't think it'd be enough. So that's where I stand with Burnley. If I had a choice, right, if I had to pick between Luton and Forest, I'd pick Luton. Just because it'd be a better story for everyone involved. I just think Forest, I can see Forest getting something against Chelsea. And Sheffield, you have to give me a really big problem for all teams. Tell me down below your thoughts. This is a relegation fight. I'm nervous. And the City game's just started. Be really awkward if they don't win. I'll see you next time, boys.